This is TWiT.
Yesterday, I was, well, not surprised because I had the delivery notification. I knew that it was going to come at some point yesterday, but I was surprised in a happy way when I saw that it was delivered earlier in the day. I was like, oh, I didn't expect it. I got in my hands, or rather on my hand, the Galaxy Watch 4 Classic. This is Samsung's latest wearable, and they announced this a couple of weeks ago. It's notable for a number of different reasons. You can see this is the stainless silver version, $350. And I gotta say, it's a sharp looking watch. Just the hardware alone, I feel, is really nice. And I actually ended up going with a 42 millimeter size. Normally, I think when I've been doing smartwatches, I tend to, just go for the largest smartwatch. But this time I was like, you know what? I'm going to go a little bit smaller. Like, it's not like too small. It actually looks like it fits my wrist kind of perfectly. I guess I could see maybe a little bit larger one on my wrist, but I like it. And I feel like the display is large enough, and, it has a nice bit of sharpness to it. This does come with a wireless charger, which maybe for the purposes of this walkthrough, I'm going to go ahead and take the watch off and put it in the charger, at least for now. There we go. So that's the watch. This one right here does not support LTE. You can get the Galaxy Watch in an LTE support. Obviously, you're going to pay a little bit more for that. It has the characteristic rotating bezel, which is something that Samsung has had on its Galaxy Watches. Not all of them. I think the Active, which is the kind of smaller, more fitness-focused one, it's less expensive. It doesn't have the rotating bezel, but the rotating bezel really is just meant to be an easier and kind of in some ways more satisfying way to navigate through these things. I could do it by swiping, or I could do it by grabbing the rotation bezel and doing it that way. So that's pretty nice. You can see it has two side buttons right here. The top one goes home. It also, if you do a double click on that, it goes to your last app. Here, let me get that to center again. There we go. So one button, would take you home. Two buttons, if I did it, would take me to the Play Store. I was downloading the new YouTube Music app. Let's see here. The bottom button views recent apps. So you can kind of, here, let's go back home. Let's see. Hopefully the demo gods are going to be happy with me. Yeah, maybe that's not working. I know that if I hold this down, it launches Samsung Pay, which I don't have set up. That is one of the downsides, is that I don't believe that, and I'm going to test this and see for sure, but I don't believe that I can load Google Pay on here instead of Samsung Pay. And I don't believe that I can have Google Assistant on here instead of Bixby, which I'm never going to use Bixby, but I always use Google Assistant. So, and this has happened in smartwatches past. Samsung has done that, and then they have, or rather they've done this on their phones in the past, where there was like a hardware button that was for Bixby. And eventually they acquiesced and gave the option to transition that over into an assistant button. Second that happens on the watch, I'm gonna use that. So for sure, I'm looking forward to that. IP68 certified, so dust, dirt, sand, 30 minutes under 1.5 meters of water submersion. So definitely meant for the elements. The display is really sharp. It's a really nice looking display, I have to say. 450 by 450 pixels of resolution. And there's some of these watch faces that at times, like, I get this like 3D effect. Like, it's sharp enough that these tiny little, the arms, the red arm that's moving and everything, kind of gives me the 3D effect that it's an actual watch, depending on how I look at it. 361 milliamp hour battery on here as well. And Samsung is touting, I think, a 2-day battery out of this. I will say yesterday when I got it delivered, it had 40% of battery shipping. That's what it shipped with. And I threw on, ambient mode. So I don't know if you can see that very well, but ambient mode lets the watch kind of, it kind of shuts off all the white pixels and makes it more of like a passive, always on viewing of the time, because I like to have that always there. So I put that on. I also set the display up to full brightness because I was sitting in my other office, aka the hammock that's out in our backyard, and so it was really bright outside. And by, I'd say, about 7:30, I was getting the low battery warning. So I don't know what that means for full day use. but I'm going to give it some time and see. Now, this is the first wearable running Wear OS 3.0. This is the first time Samsung has used Wear OS on its watches instead of Tizen. So basically what you're getting here is Google and Samsung's combined efforts on Wear OS, which takes some of the good of Tizen, which Samsung was really, has been really confident and rightfully so with their wearables running Tizen, and brings it over to the Wear OS experience. That also means that you get things like Google's apps, you get Google's Maps and the Google Play Store and stuff like that. So that's really great to have. I'm just looking at some of the watch faces. Let's go ahead and select something else and put that on there. And I'm still playing around with Wear OS, but I mean, it has all the typical kind of shortcuts. There's my app drawer, swiping up, swipe down. I get more of my device controls. Swiping left, I get notifications. Swiping right, I can swipe through the different, like activity modes. I can pin anything over here, and notifications from calendar, stuff like that. So it's all accessible. And I think the other big benefit potentially, again, I'm going to test it, is that Wear OS 3.0, it's a new version of Wear OS. Google has really stagnated in ways when it comes to Wear OS. So this was a big announcement because it shows Google kind of recommitting itself to its wearable efforts. The old Wear OS was slow. It was just outdated. It really felt like, at least to me anyways, not everybody, but it felt to me like Google had kind of forgotten about it, as Google tends to do with certain things. So this is kind of Google recommitting to its Wear OS effort, and that I think is a good thing. Also has a bunch of exercise functionality, which I'm going to test. Sensors for pulse, step counting, ECG for atrial fibrillation, blood oxygen detection. It has blood pressure detection, though that's not active in the US for now. I don't know if it will be, maybe eventually. And then it also has a bioelectric impedance sensor, and this allows you to check your body fat percentage. You move it up on your wrist, and then you, with your other hand, you tap these two buttons, making sure you're not making any connection with that hand and this hand. That's essential. And it'll do the scan and tell you, as far as it's concerned, what your body fat percentage is. So those are things that I don't know that I'm necessarily looking to do all the time. I'm sure someone out there is like, finally, there's a wearable that does this. It does this. It also, they have group challenges on here as well, which I know the Apple Watch has. So I could sync this up with someone else who has the Galaxy Watch 4, and we can kind of challenge each other. I will say, for whatever it's worth, this is the first Android wearable that when my wife saw the box, it was in on the kitchen while I was outside working. She came outside with the box and she said, this is a pretty watch. I want one. It's the first Android wearable that she's ever said that to. So I feel like maybe that's saying something. She tried on this size and it worked for her as well. So it doesn't really feel like a chunky piece of technology as much as it does a watch. And that is a good thing. I am, of course, going to be reviewing this watch on All About Android. I don't know if it's going to hit Hands on Tech after that as well, but definitely All About Android. I know Leo is getting his, I think, tomorrow. So you're going to hear Leo talking about his experience with it as well. I am also very curious to know how comprehensive the feature set is on this watch, because I'm connecting it to a Pixel and not a Samsung phone. And Samsung is very, very up on making their devices kind of the best when they're connected to each other. So I'm sure there's some aspects of this that are just not going to work as well or at all because it's connected to my Pixel and not a Samsung phone. All that remains to be seen, but I'm looking forward to it. And I got to say, I really like the look of this watch. It's nice looking.